Welcome everyone to the table in 5D. Oh my goodness, what an exciting day. It's my first video where we are at the table in 5D on Patreon only. We're done with YouTube and I want to explain to you why. It's time for me to start crossing the bridge, okay? We are all going to cross the bridge into 5D, all of my 5D community, and it's time for me to start crossing. 3D is starting to kick my butt hard, and I've been told in the last at least month, Kim, you're going to be crossing the bridge real soon. You're going to have to start letting go of the role that you play in 3D. And that day has arrived. So here we are, and I want to welcome you to the table in 5D. Alright. This video, the subject of this video is something that I've been holding on to for months, and it's something that's very dear to my heart. Very, very dear. And so it's called Inside Outside. Okay? It's the culture of 5D, and I want you to take it in as a way for you to start feeling within yourself and conceptualizing what it's like to be in 5D, inside, outside. What does that mean? Inside and outside. Well, it means that what is on the inside is going to vibrationally match what is on the outside. Okay? Now, I want to start by quoting Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas is not in the Bible, okay? It was the book of Thomas was taken out, so we don't have access to it through the Bible anymore. But there's a quote from Jesus that I think might blow your mind a little bit, and it's something that is so dear to me that I keep it in this little picture frame, and I look at it and it brings me home. Okay, so Jesus said, when you make the two one, and you make the inside like the outside, and you make the outside like the inside, and you make the upper side like the underside, and in such a way that you make the man with the woman a single one, in order that the man is not man and the woman is not woman, then you will go into the kingdom. That's huge for me, and it always has been. I've had this in this picture frame for about 30 years, okay? I resonate with this quote because it's something that I know as a vibrational reality that I have experienced in 5D and beyond. Okay, I already know what this is all about. This is about that feeling that you are one with everything else in the universe. At the basic level, at the level of the fabric that holds everything together, we are all one. Here in 3D, on the earth, excuse me, not here, we're 5D here. Sorry about that. Over there somewhere on the earth in 3D, it's part of the veil. It's part of our three-dimensional brain. To think in terms of ourselves as quanta, right? As singular things. That's the experience that we're meant to have on the earth, and we're meant to learn how to balance it out with the fact that we are eternal spectrums of consciousness at the same time. So here we are, three-dimensional human beings, thinking that we are singular and we are one thing, and that everything else outside of us is different. Nature is out there, other people are out there, and we are differentiated from our environment. Okay, but the minute that you open up your consciousness beyond earthly 3D, into 4D and into 5D, you immediately are struck with the vibrational reality that, oh my gosh, I'm connected to everything. I can move across space, I can connect to anyone, I can know through feeling without a feeling of fear about it. Okay? So that experience of me on the inside and whatever is on the outside are different. That feeling is specific to three-dimensional earthly human experience. We are not like that in 5D. In 5D, there is a greater feeling that what I generate on the inside becomes something meaningful and real on the outside. It happens automatically because in 5D, as I've mentioned in other videos, in 5D, the atmosphere is both receptive and responsive to what you put into it, to what you release into the atmosphere. Okay? So already this dimension is fundamentally different than the third dimension on the earth. You are interactively connected to the very atmosphere in 5D. And that's a wonderful feeling because there, on the three-dimensional earth, we feel like, you know, we have to survive what's going on outside of us. You know, we might be sitting there as you know, primitive man did, you know, staring down a T-Rex or something, you know, and feel like we are in conflict with our environment, right? We have this survival thing. The very advent of science and the development of technology, most things that we developed as human beings that we consider valuable on three-dimensional Earth have to do with controlling nature, because we see ourselves as in conflict with nature, and that's part of our survival instinct. That's a human 3D earthly thing. On the other side, it is the spiritual thing. I am one with everything, and what I am, the universe is receptive to. How about that for a psychological trip? The atmosphere is receptive to you. I mean, how many of us have gone through our three-dimensional lives on Earth and thought to ourselves, you know, what I have on the inside is not really acceptable to anybody, right? Many of us feel like we are psychologically disconnected, that we're fragmented, that we're not part of a whole, and that we're not accepted, and we all feel like we got, you know, sliced up, you know, into a pretty little package when we were children. We were not allowed to be ourselves, and so many of us carry around this feeling that we are not acceptable to those around us. That's all over in 5D. In 5D, your vibration is so pure. Your needs are already known. You are already known. I've already accepted you for what you are, and so when your vibrations move across space, I just let them move right through me, because you and I are connected on the fabric, and there's no need for us to distrust each other. Okay, in addition, whatever needs you have on the inside, which are few in 5D, those can be released into the atmosphere, they can be released into your community, and they will be met. Okay, so it's not going to be the earthly version of, gosh, you know, there's some guy that I see on TV all the time, and he doesn't seem to have much in the way of a loving, giving heart, and yet at the same time, everything in his material world is just robust and superfluous and perhaps even vulgar, overdeveloped. They're overdeveloped on the outside. They've got all of this stuff, and yet there's not much going on in the inside. There's that guy that I get to look at every day on TV. And then I look at myself in the mirror and I think to myself, wow, I have this gigantic heart. I have all this to give. But it just seems like the material things in my life maybe are a little scarce, or the feeling of richness through relationships perhaps is a little bit scarce. You know, a lot of people feel like they have so much to give in their heart, and yet they can't seem to find the match for it in the 3D world. Well, that's all over. That's a non-issue. In 5D, we are all completely together, and you will never ever have that feeling of being alone and frightened on the inside. You won't have that. It doesn't exist there. Okay? So the inside, the needs on the inside, the basic needs of love and acceptance and support, those are matched on the outside. You won't have to worry about that at all. Now, this also metaphorically, the quote that I'm talking about in relation to our 5D plane that we're going to, it also refers to not just what are your what you're feeling or what you're trying to create on the inside becoming reality on the outside. It's not just that. It also has to do with the individual balances with the community. Okay? Community is really, really big. Remember that on the other side, which is a 5D context, and the same will be true for our fifth dimensional plane on the earth. Remember that over there, we are not separate. It's as much a part of our deep, deep psychology as separation is in the 3D world. Okay, so you're going to have the feeling that if you express something within your community, it is automatically woven into the community. There's no separation between your needs and the needs of the community. Your expression and the expression of the community. You can keep some things to yourself. You know, you can say, I don't want to share all this stuff. You're fine to do that, but you will never be without that feeling of connectedness and sort of mutual support. Okay? It's a wonderful thing. Now, the one thing that our 5D community doesn't have is a need to control you. Sometimes in the 3D world, communities need to control the individual. And so there's a downside to that. You know, there's this whole balance between, you know, coming from a very sort of tribal culture, you know, sociologically speaking, where the individual, the expression of the individual, the importance of the individual is much less much less important than the expression of the community and the needs of the community, the value of the community. So it's less about the individual developing themselves and becoming unique, and it's more about people staying pretty much on the same page so that the community can function best. And that's a survival thing on Earth. In contrast, in our 5D plane, much like on the other side, you get to be unique and woven in at the same time. In fact, you have to do that. You have to do that. You cannot deny yourself. You must express yourself. You will want to express yourself because expression is your joy. And you'll have the chance to do that without losing your connectedness to the community. Okay? Now, one more thing about this quote that I want to say. It says, when you make the inside like the outside, then you will go into the kingdom. That means a lot to me as someone who was raised with the Bible. You know, I never got that far into it, but I would read ever since I was a child, and I would sort of analyze those words from a spiritual perspective, because I was a very spiritual young person, and I saw things in metaphor a lot. It's just part of how I worked, and the idea of entering the kingdom, to me, is 5D. To me, it is the freedom in 5D. Entering the kingdom means, to me, being released from the idea that you are an isolated individual that must be primarily focused on survival, both on the physical level and on the social level, right? Once you start feeling as though you can let the inside be received by the outside, once you feel that level of trust that you are ready for what you have on the inside to be received on the outside, and that you are ready to be interwoven into a community that is never going to force you into competing for food, for resources, for survival, for self-esteem, for esteem in the community, for position, right? For a place on the hierarchy. Once you realize that you can be part of a community woven together, you're all on the same page at a very high level, then you will enter the kingdom. Excuse me for taking the quote of Jesus and making it my own, but I am that audacious, and I hope that you can, you know, allow me to say that to the point where you can actually look at what's being said. Okay? All right, well, I want to thank you for being here. Think about this. This is something right now, the inside matching the outside, that I am practicing every single day. This particular thing is the bridge. This is the bridge. Think in terms of inside and outside matching on the very deepest level. Think of releasing the inside to the outside. Think of receiving from the outside to the inside in order to create wholeness and fulfillment. If you can do this during your day, you will be crossing the bridge to 5D. Come on down. You're my people. All right. Thanks for being here. See you next time, real soon. Take care.